to Deep Sleep Stories. Thank you to everyone who's been listening. If these stories help you relax or fall asleep, a short review, comment, or sharing the podcast with someone who might benefit is a simple and meaningful way to support the show so that we may continue to offer it for free. Now, take a slow, gentle breath and let's begin tonight's story.
Welcome to Deep Sleep Stories, a place where tranquil whispers guide you into restful slumber. As you settle in for the night, allow your eyelids to soften and your breathing to slow. Imagine, just beyond the gentle cloak of darkness, a sweeping Irish shore where ancient ruins lie hidden amidst basalt columns, touched by gentle rain. Breathe in, letting your body gently sink into the softness beneath you. Breathe out, releasing the worries of the day. There's no hurry here, no rush or demand. In this space, you can drift freely on the comforting tide of a story designed to cradle you in calm. Tonight you will be invited to journey across the misty giant's Causeway, where Celtic symbols shimmer faintly beneath a soft drizzle of rain. Now allow your mind to unfold, each breath guiding you to a deeper state of ease. As your muscles loosen, your heartbeat begins a languid, peaceful tempo. The edges of your thoughts blur, and you can let go of the day's demands. Let the hush of this moment be your refuge. Let the gentle rise and fall of your chest be an anchor in calm waters. There is only the soothing sound of your breath and the gentle invitation to drift into a realm of wonders. As the story begins, you can let the landscape emerge slowly in your mind's eye, knowing that each detail is here for you to sink into, to rest upon like soft, plush pillows of imagination. Feel the softness in your shoulders, letting them roll down and settle. Feel the lengthening of your spine as you lie back and exhale tension. Let your face become smooth and serene. Let your lips part in a gentle sigh of comfort. Allow the corners of your eyes to soften as you drift on the threshold of slumber. The story will now gently transition into a realm where the hush of the breeze, the patter of rain, and the call of distant gulls blend together. There, on an emerald coastline, is where the next chapter of our tale unfolds. She stood by the shoreline with a sense of quiet awe, an onlooker in a realm of myths and legends. The sky above was layered with low drifting clouds, each one promising a drizzle of gentle rain. The wind whispered across the basalt pillars of the giant's causeway, carrying the faint scent of sea salt and damp earth. Upon the columns, the reflection of the overcast sky formed shifting patterns, shimmering like silver. In the distance, waves gently rolled in, rising and falling against the shore, in a soothing rhythm that lulled the senses, drawing everything into a tranquil hush. Standing there, she felt an ancient energy beneath her feet. The basalt columns rose in neat hexagonal formations, as if some grand puzzle had been laid out by a giant's hand. The stone was damp, coated in a thin sheen of rain that turned the dark rock into a glistening mosaic. When she lifted her gaze, she saw seagulls drifting in slow arcs above, their cries echoing through the salty air. Each breath she took was cool and refreshing, the soft drizzle wrapping around her in a gentle embrace. Though the day was gray, there was a mysterious radiance to the place. The stones themselves seemed to glow from within, reminiscent of fires long since extinguished in an age when beings of lore might have walked the land. The quiet hush of the sky, punctuated by distant calls of birds and the steady murmur of the sea, formed a lullaby that felt older than time. She paused there, letting the hush seep into her bones, allowing her mind to still and her heart to slow. Softly, she began her careful steps along the basalt columns, mindful of the slick surface beneath her boots. Each step seemed to align her with that ancient energy. As she moved forward, a light drizzle fell from the sky, dotted with translucent beads that fell on stone, skin, and sea. She could sense the stories held within those columns, as though the land itself was quietly whispering fragments of the past. Between the stone's ridges, small patches of seaweed clung in bright green clusters, and tiny puddles mirrored the gray sky above. Off to the side, a cluster of rocks formed a shallow inlet where the water pooled and swirled in quiet eddies. Something there glinted, half submerged, catching her attention. Careful not to slip, she approached. In the shallow water, a smooth stone emerged, etched with intricate symbols and swirling lines. She knelt by the edge of that little pool, the drizzle tapping lightly against her hood, and ran a gentle fingertip over the carvings. The symbols felt timeless, a language from another era, tangling runes reminiscent of Celtic knots or swirling waves. A gust of wind nudged her hood aside, letting a few drops of rain brush her face. She drew in a slow breath, noticing how the chill air filled her lungs with bracing freshness. When she exhaled, the drizzle seemed to deepen, as if the atmosphere responded to her presence. She carefully lifted the rune stone from the shallow water, turning it over in her palm. Delicate lines of carved spirals and interwoven shapes were faint yet unmistakable against the smooth gray-green surface. The hush around her seemed to amplify, as though nature were leaning in with interest. Steady waves broke in the distance, their quiet rumble forming a hypnotic lull. She blinked droplets of rain from her eyelashes, letting her gaze drift over the stone, reading its silent story. The symbols hinted at unity, transformation, and perhaps a guiding spirit. Gently, she placed the stone back into the shallow water, sensing that whatever it held was meant to remain connected to this ancient land. Continuing along the basalt columns, she felt drawn toward the heart of the giant's causeway. The path was not obvious in the lightly falling rain, but she followed an instinct, a subtle pull that led her deeper among the hexagonal pillars. The air smelled richly of sea spray and moss, each breath a cleansing wash of maritime essence. Small rivulets of water slipped between the stones, forming narrow streams that trickled toward the sea. The drizzle's soft patter accompanied her every step, as if urging her onward. In time she found a sheltered crevice among the towering columns. It formed a natural alcove where the wind was reduced to a gentle sigh. Here she paused to rest, leaning her back against the cool, damp basalt. From her vantage point, she could watch the waves rolling on the horizon, the endless dance of water and sky. The muted palette of gray clouds and greenish-black stone felt soothing, as though it absorbed all the frantic colors of day and replaced them with a peaceful hush. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting the world around her settle into a hushed lullaby. A gentle shiver moved across her shoulders, not from cold, but from a strange awareness, as though the land recognized her presence. The drizzle tapped on the stones, a pattern that seemed almost like a soft, rhythmic drum. In her mind's eye, she saw distant shapes moving amid swirling mists, figures from Celtic myths, tall and proud, their cloaks drenched by the same ancient rains. When she opened her eyes again, the natural alcove seemed subtly changed. The basalt columns glistened with a deeper sheen, highlighting faint carvings etched into their faces. The lines were delicate, curling in loops and knots that resembled the shapes on the rune stone she had found. Quietly, she stood and approached the etched marks. A single fingertip traced their path, marveling at how intricate and purposeful they seemed. Though she did not fully understand their meaning, she felt a stirring of reverence. As the drizzle continued, it felt as though the distant ocean was beginning to sing. Low and resonant, the melody blended with the hush of the rain and the rhythmic pulse of her own heartbeat. The Celtic runes on the columns glowed faintly under the water's caress, as if they were responding to the melody of the sea. She found herself gently humming, matching that distant lull, bridging the gap between the present moment and the timeless realm around her. Drawn onward, she ventured deeper. The columns seemed to converge, forming a hidden pathway that sloped gently upward, away from the immediate shore. Ancient myths claimed that giants once walked here, forging a road across the sea to far-off lands. Each step along this path felt like a measured dance, guided by a presence older than stone. The sea breeze carried the faintest hint of peat smoke, as though a welcoming hearth burned somewhere just out of sight. Her steps led her toward a place where the basalt gave way to a grassy ledge, the tufted earth dotted with small white flowers swaying in the breeze. The drizzle softened, becoming a light mist that clung to her eyelashes and cooled her cheeks. She paused to look back, seeing how the ocean stretched out in a shimmering expanse of gray-green. The columns below formed a grand mosaic, their geometric shapes rising and falling with gentle elegance. Even though the day was subdued, the land glowed with quiet enchantment. On that grassy ledge, perched on a slope above the causeway, she discovered a small circle of standing stones. They were rough-hewn, lichen-covered, and stood like silent guardians facing the tumult of the sea. In their center, a single hawthorn tree grew, its branches bent by years of wind and rain. Tiny, translucent droplets clung to its leaves, reflecting the muted light. She approached with respectful steps, moved by the calm that radiated from this place. The stones stood tall and unwavering in the mist. Each one seemed to bear faint carvings, similar to those she had seen on the runestone in the shallows. Intertwining spirals and knots adorned their surfaces, telling silent tales of journeys and legends. She laid a hand on one, feeling the cool texture of the stone beneath her palm. A warm sensation flowed through her fingertips, a gentle pulse that suggested a living energy within the ancient rock. The hawthorn tree swayed, its branches tapping softly against one of the stones, as though acknowledging her presence. Beneath the tree lay a simple flat stone, forming a natural seat. With a quiet sense of reverence, she settled there, letting her eyes close to the whispers of the wind. The drizzle had become a faint mist dancing across her skin. Each breath she drew was laced with the scent of wet earth and fresh leaves. A sense of timelessness enveloped her, as if she had stepped beyond the boundaries of ordinary moments into a realm of subtle magic. She allowed her body to relax, resting her back against the hawthorn's trunk. The branches draped overhead like a gentle canopy, sheltering her from the heavier drops of water that occasionally fell from the dense clouds. In the hush of that spot, she felt safe and held, lulled by the rhythmic music of nature, wind, ocean, and the soft patter of raindrops against stone. The circle of standing stones seemed to hum around her, an ancient choir singing beneath the hush of centuries. Within that calm, she began to sense more deeply the presence of those Celtic runes. It was as though they formed a language that spoke directly to her heart, telling stories of unity and connection, of the land's spirit that endured through ages of change. She felt a gentle stirring of curiosity, a call to explore further. Yet there was no urgency, no push or pull of conflict or haste, only an invitation to drift at the pace of nature's lullaby. Resting there, she gazed through the mist at the silhouettes of the standing stones. Their shapes glimmered in the pale light, each one distinctly carved with its own patterns. Her eyelids grew heavy, but she remained peacefully alert, floating between drowsiness and awareness. Time seemed slow, unhurried, the earth's ancient pulse matching her own. She thought she heard faint echoes of old Gaelic songs in the whisper of the wind, notes that rose and fell with a lullaby's sweet cadence. Eventually, the hush around her turned her thoughts inward. She recalled how she first arrived at the Giant's Causeway, drawn by stories of breathtaking landscapes and the call of the sea. She reflected on the smooth, sturdy basalt columns that had welcomed her steps, leading her closer to these rune-marked stones. Everything felt tied together by an unseen thread, a tapestry of gentle wonders. The drizzle persisted, but it was soft and nurturing, like a quiet blessing bestowed upon the land. When she finally rose from her seat beneath the hawthorn tree, she did so quietly, with a renewed sense of calm. She offered a silent word of gratitude to the stones and the tree, and then let her gaze drift back toward the causeway. The path beyond the standing stones led into a deeper swirl of mist, thick enough to hide what lay beyond. She pressed on, trusting the gentle guidance of this mystical realm. With the stones behind her and the sea out of view, she navigated the damp grass. The drizzle wove itself around her, though it was never harsh, merely a tender companion on her journey. In time, she came upon another discovery, a small hollow nestled between rocky outcrops, its floor covered in lush, spongy moss. Thin rivulets of water streamed down the rocks, gathering in a clear pool at the hollow's center. There, along the edge of the pool, were more stones, etched with Celtic runes, partially obscured by clusters of wild ferns and moss. She knelt at the pool's edge, peering into the shallow waters. Tiny droplets of rain rippled the surface, fracturing her reflection into soft waves. Beneath the water, faint lines of runic markings crisscrossed, forming a winding labyrinth across the submerged stone bed. The sight captured her imagination, and she dipped her fingers into the cool water, feeling a gentle tingling sensation spread up her arm. The runes below seemed to radiate a quiet glow whenever the droplets struck them. Here the air felt different, heavier, with the scent of damp stone and earthy moss, yet still suffused with a kind of silent music. She traced one of the partially submerged runes with her fingertip, noticing how the lines curved in mesmerizing loops. Perhaps they told a story of the land's creation, or perhaps they were blessings left by travelers from long ago. It was impossible to know for certain, yet the mystery itself was comforting. The gentle hush of the drizzle played a delicate tune on the stone, and her thoughts drifted like a leaf on a slow-moving stream. From there, she followed a natural pathway formed by mossy rocks and sloping ground. The drizzle ebbed and flowed, sometimes falling in barely perceptible droplets, other times pattering gently against the hood of her cloak. The rhythm was soothing, a constant lull, as though nature was carefully guiding her further. She soon came upon a narrow fissure in the rock, adorned with slender ivy vines. With caution, she stepped inside. Within that fissure, the air was still, protected from the breeze. Torch-like ferns grew from crevices in the rock, their delicate fronds reaching outward. A faint glow seemed to pulse along the damp walls, an ethereal light that illuminated more runic carvings. She could hear the gentle drip of water echoing through the space, creating a resonance that felt almost like a heartbeat. Step by step, she delved deeper, her curiosity steadily leading her. In a small chamber at the heart of the fissure, she found what appeared to be a hidden shrine. Runes were carved all along the stone walls, each spiral and knot, overlapping to form a mesmerizing tapestry of shapes. In the center stood a low, flat stone, perhaps an altar upon which rested a smooth river rock etched with a single spiral. Water trickled along the walls and pooled around the altar's base, creating a soft reflection that magnified the spiral's design. Carefully, she approached the altar. The hush in the air felt profound, almost sacred, as though centuries of silent reverence filled the space. She ran her hand along the damp rock, feeling the gentle hum of energy through her fingertips. The spiral etched into the stone seemed to draw the eye ever inward, suggesting a deeper journey, one that promised transformation and stillness in equal measure. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting the silence and the steady drip of water lull her into a calm, dreamlike state. The wet stone under her hand was cool, grounding her to the present. Outside, the soft drizzle continued, but here the water's presence was muted, heard only as a quiet whisper. When she inhaled, she sensed a faint aroma of wet slate and fresh leaves. When she exhaled, she felt the gentle release of tension from her body. Every muscle relaxed in that intimate, enclosed space. Time itself seemed to expand, allowing her mind to meander through thoughts and images with no rush. Slowly, she opened her eyes. The runes on the walls glowed faintly in the half-light, forming a silent chorus of symbols. Each line was etched with delicate care, capturing the essence of myths passed down through generations. A peace settled over her, warmth spreading through her heart. She touched the spiral stone once more, as though in gratitude, then turned to retrace her steps toward the entrance of the fissure. Emerging from that sacred hollow, she found that the drizzle had quieted to a delicate mist. The clouds overhead had begun to thin, allowing soft, diffused light to fall upon the land. She realized the day was gently turning toward dusk, and the air had taken on a subtle hush, as though nature itself was preparing for rest. Looking around, she could see the basalt columns of the giant's Causeway in the distance, now bathed in a pale glow. The sea beyond was calm, its surface glimmering with the last hints of daylight. Stepping carefully down a gentle slope, she headed back toward the shoreline, drawn by the lull of the ocean's rhythmic breathing. A sense of serenity enveloped her, as if each step carried her deeper into a peaceful trance. The wind stirred the tall grasses, making them sway in a quiet dance, while the soft, watery light cast wavering shadows across the land. The runes she had seen stayed vivid in her mind, like comforting talismans guiding her journey. She arrived at the shoreline just as the tide began to recede, exposing more of the basalt columns. Small pools of seawater gleamed into the fading light, each one reflecting a piece of the sky. The drizzle was now just a faint memory in the air, replaced by a hush that invited introspection. She walked among the columns once more, noticing how the water glided off their smooth surfaces, leaving faint trails of shimmering droplets. Pausing at the water's edge, She gazed out over the vast expanse of sea, the horizon blurred with the sky in a wash of silvery blues and muted grays. The distant sound of seabirds had quieted, as if they too prepared for nightfall. In the dimming light, the giant's causeway felt even more mystical, its columns like stepping stones, leading into a world of half-remembered myths. She found a dry, sheltered spot to rest, settling upon a broad, flat rock. The basalt was cool beneath her, but not unwelcoming. Letting her body relax, she listened to the gentle sound of waves lapping against the columns. Now and then, a ripple of wind would comb through her hair, carrying a hint of salt. She closed her eyes, breathing deeply in time with the ocean's pulse. Each breath in drew calm into her being. Each breath out carried away any last remnants of tension. The hush of dusk settled more fully, dimming the world in a restful twilight. She felt connected to that hush, to the gentle shadows of the ancient land around her. Thoughts drifted, feather light across the quiet expanse of her mind. The runic carvings and the quiet grove of standing stones swirled in her memory, images that merged and blended in a tapestry of calm reflection. Gentle curiosity lingered, but there was no urgency. Only the steady lull of nature's night song. Overhead, clouds parted slightly, revealing a stretch of sky faintly lit by the first twinkling stars. Their reflection shimmered across the water's surface. She opened her eyes and watched as tiny points of light appeared one by one in that quiet canopy. The day was slipping into evening as gently as a lullaby, and she felt a sense of deep contentment, as though she were an honored guest in this timeless domain. In that peaceful moment, the ocean's voice grew softer, and the basalt columns beneath her seemed to cradle her in a restful embrace. She felt her eyelids growing heavier, lulled by the repetitive hush of the waves and the gentle swirl of the breeze. She allowed herself to drift, letting the night sky deepen overhead. The Celtic runes she discovered earlier felt like a protective lullaby etched into the land, their softly glowing lines a reminder that nature held countless secrets, all existing to guide and soothe. Time moved in slow currents, and she welcomed it. There was no need to hurry, no need to think ahead. The only task was to rest in the presence of the sea's gentle lull, the drizzle's lingering hush, and the resonant energy of a place woven with centuries of quiet devotion. Eventually, her thoughts dipped into a serene space between waking and dreaming, where the hush of the world seemed to echo in her own heartbeat. Now, dear listener, as the story draws to its close, feel the soothing embrace of that quiet Irish shore. The patter of rain has softened, merging with the lull of waves in a tender, almost silent rhythm. You have traveled gently across basalt columns, found hidden runes, and listened to nature's ancient lullaby. Let the calm stillness of this land guide you deeper into rest as though you too are nestled among the stones, sheltered by the ocean's protective song. Let each breath become softer, each exhale releasing you further into the cradle of sleep. The tension has melted away, replaced by the memory of gentle rain and softly glowing runes. The hush in the air is gentle and inviting, like a warm blanket of twilight. Let your thoughts drift and unfurl, set free upon these dreamy shores. Your eyelids grow heavier now, lulled by the lingering echoes of a story told in whispers. The rain has become just a faint shimmer in your memory, and the call of the sea is distant, rhythmic, and soothing. Sink deeper into the quiet, into the softness of your bed, where the dreams of Celtic shores can embrace you in warmth and peace. There is nothing more to do, nowhere else to be. This is your sanctuary. Good night, dear traveler. Sleep well under the stars that shine upon endless seas, and may your dreams be filled with the gentle runes of an ancient land. Let them guard your rest, guiding you gently into the deep currents of slumber, where all is safe and all is still.